Welcome back, everyone. So in the last few lessons, we ended up separating all of our code that was related to our front end into a client folder, and we now have all of our backend code in the root folder. Now, what we need to do is move all of this code up onto Heroku because now our application needs to run with this new backend. And we know that all of our code works in local development. So we need to see if this will work on Heroku production. And it's actually really easy. When we first moved all of our code into this new client folder, we actually left a .git file and the .gitignore, if you remember. Now, the .git file holds the history of everything that's ever happened inside of this one root directory, which means that any of the changes that we make is being tracked still inside of this Git folder. So this is really good for us because that means that if we push to the same project, there won't be any conflicts. And even if we need to, I can show you guys how to make sure that you force a push to Heroku if you want Heroku to have all of your latest code. Now, there is one caveat, which is that if any of you have actually cloned this project ever since we worked on our first deployment to Heroku, then you might have to relink your project to the old project you had on Heroku. Or you can also make a new Heroku project inside of Heroku if you want to, and then push this code to that one. But you will end up with two separate running Heroku apps. It's entirely up to you. All of these are just tools. How you want to use them is entirely up to you. But what I'm going to show you is how you can link this project to your existing Heroku project if you've cloned down any of the project links that I've given you throughout this course. If you've done that, the one thing that you have to make sure to do is make sure that if you want to add Heroku to this project, you just got to know the name of the actual app that you deployed before. So if you run Heroku apps, you'll see a list of the apps that you have. And this Crown Live is actually the one that I want. So just copy the name of this project or whatever the name of your last deployed project was, and then you just run Heroku git remote -a, and then you paste in the name of your project. And when you do this, it will now link this project to that Heroku account because it'll give you access to a new remote inside of this Git called Heroku. So if you type in git remote, you'll see that there's Heroku along with origin. Origin is going to be the name of the Git file that your GitHub account is linked to. So whatever the name of your GitHub repository is what origin will be. Heroku is now that Heroku project. So if we do git push Heroku, we're going to push to Heroku. Now, the only other thing we need to really change is we have to actually get rid of the build pack that we were running before, which was specifically when we were deploying a Create React app application. But now what we're deploying is a Express server, and that Express server will end up building and bundling our client code and doing the optimization there before actually sending that through whenever we hit one of our links that is not our payment route. And you'll remember that we did this inside of our server.js file right here, where we say that whenever anyone tries to get at any other route, what we want to do is we want to send them our ended client build project, specifically our index.html. So we need to actually now modify our build pack. In fact, we need to actually remove the build pack. So what you can do really easily is say Heroku build packs, and this will list out any build packs we currently have on this project. So we have our Mars Create React app. So just copy that, and then we're going to run Heroku build packs :remove, and then paste in the name of Mars Create React app. Now this will end up removing the build pack so we don't use it the next time we need to build our project. And Heroku will build our project once we push up our newest code that we've written. But we do have to also commit this new code that we've actually added. So there's going to be a big commit that we need to make. So first, I'm just going to clear this so that I can say git add -a. So this will add all the files that we need. And then I'm going to say git commit -m, separating our CRA app into client folder, added Express server to help handle backend Stripe payment. And now we've added all of our code, and then we're going to run git push Heroku master. So this will push all of this code that we've got recently on our Heroku up onto the master branch. Now, if you encounter some conflicts because your Git history is a little odd, but you know that your code is working, you can append a -- force flag, and this will force this project to push this latest code up onto your Heroku. Now, typically, you don't want to do this in a big, large-scale production app because pushing to master and forcing a change on the Git history is a bad practice. But because this is our own personal project, and because we have a long tracking Git history with all of the code that I've updated for you recently, you can do this no problem. This is mostly a practice that you have to keep in mind, not to do when you're actually working in a real professional setting. But for the sake of your own personal projects, because you're the only person working on this, it's not a big issue at all. So then once you hit enter, this will push and update all of our latest code up onto that Heroku production. Now, the only new thing we also have to change is going to be thinking about our .m file. Our .m file is actually inside of our gitignore because we don't want to push up our secret keys onto any Git remotes, right? Anyone with access to our Git remote can then see what our secret keys are. So we don't want to do that. What we do want to do, though, is let Heroku access the secret values that we have stored inside of the environment. And the way we do that is actually with a Heroku config tool. So I'll show you how to do that after our production code finishes building. Now that Heroku's finished building our project, we need to set a config variable. So you're just going to say Heroku config :set and then Stripe secret key equals, and then you're going to paste in the secret key that you have inside of your environment variable. So make sure that you paste it in without the quotations because just like our .env, Heroku doesn't need it to be a string. Then you're going to hit enter, and that will now allow Heroku to actually use the secret key in your project. So I'm not going to paste mine in, of course, because I don't want anyone to see it, because again, it is a secret key. And now if we run Heroku open, we should have our project up with our latest new code. So in order for us to test if everything's working, let's just add some items into our cart, go to our checkout, and complete our payment flow. So this is an autocomplete, and then I'm going to enter in our fake credit card. And now if I hit pay now, if I get the alert that everything was successful, which we did, if we go to our dashboard and we refresh, we should see our latest payment, which we do. So now we have completed the full production version of our application with our Stripe payment and chargeback as well. So now your application is up to date with everything you need in order for Stripe to make a payment. So this is actually all you needed to do. The only thing is that if you actually want to have a real Stripe charge where the actual credit card is a real credit card and everything works, you do have to activate your account. And then you can switch over from test mode into production mode. But the code doesn't change because everything is going to be the same. The only difference is that the actual Stripe dashboard right now does not allow us to do it because I have not activated this account. It's just a long survey you have to fill out, letting Stripe know what kind of business you're running and all the other legal issues related around it. But it's actually really easy in order for us to do this. Now, if you already had the existing project linked to Heroku and you've been just using one exact same application up until now, you didn't need to do that Heroku set part. You could have just run everything up until from the git commit and the git add to what we just did now, and everything will still work. So hopefully you've deployed your application up onto Heroku now and your code is up to date. And with that, we're done our backend section. We've updated all of our code to our latest backend server with our client-side separation. So now you've got a better idea at the very least of how backends and front ends interact from a full stack perspective. But with that, let's continue with our course.